Hi, in this video, I will show you how to use the cost allocation feature in Holori. Cost allocation is critical for any FinOps software. It's the way you are going to allocate the different costs of your cloud resources to the right department within your organization. On Holori software, once you are on app.holori.com, logged in, go to the left to cost allocation. So when we arrive here, as you can see, we ask you to create your first cost allocation segment. What is a segment? A segment will be an entity responsible for the cost within your organization. Here, we need to start by specifying for which month we want to start doing the cost allocation. So here, let's start in January, for example. What you need to understand is that in Holori, the cost allocation is made on a monthly basis. So it's made for January, February, etc., etc. What happens is that what has been defined as true in January will be considered, if you don't make any modification, as true for the following month. So here, let's start for January. I click on Create. Then we arrive on this page. That is the main page for the cost allocation. We can go around it and have a look at what is on the screen. We have, as you can see, three main elements. So these elements are on top the information about your total cost on your account. So here it's a demo account, so it's quite low, but you can see that my total cost for January were $300. You can see your coverage. So the goal is to reach in the end a coverage of 100%. It means that all your costs will have been allocated. Here I haven't done it yet, so it's normal, it's 0%. Then on the left, I have a list of elements. Basically, these elements are the ones that I will be able to allocate to the various departments. We'll have a look at it later. And then on the main page, main part here, you see that we already have a square. Basically, this square is called a segment. A segment is an entity within your organization. So by default, the one that we have here is the top one, would be like the CEO office of your organization. And then we will create the org chart. To change the name, the default name of this, you can double click. And then let's say CEO office, for example. Then under it, I'm able to put some divisions. So I can click on plus, and then let's say division 1, create. Let's say division 2. And let's create a third one, division 3. Okay, now these are considered as children. I can also create grandchildren, which means creating elements, segments under these ones. So here, just click on one of the segments, and then I have the plus or the minus. The minus will be to delete it, and the plus to create children. I click on plus, and let's say that this division, division 1, has multiple subdivisions in various continents. So America, for example, let's say also have Asia, and you have Europe. This other division doesn't have location as subdivision, but will have different departments. Let's say marketing and tech. Okay, so as you can see, we have now created part of our org chart. The goal will be to drag and drop elements from the left to this grid to allocate the cost to the right segments. So here, let's have a look. As you can see, I have multiple elements here. We'll go through them one by one. First, you have to know that these elements are, for example, a list of resources, etc. You can search directly for the one you want using a name. You can also directly expand all the categories if you want here. And you are also able to directly access the one that you want to visit. For example, I can access directly all my sub-accounts. And you can also filter by account if you want. So we'll start with something very simple. Resource. For example, have this resource here, that is a dev Redis resource. I want to allocate it to my tech department. So how does it work? Quite simple. I take it and I drag and drop it to my tech department. So now, as you can see, I have allocated the cost of this resource to my tech department. Let's imagine that this resource is not fully owned and fully used by the tech department, but it's split evenly between tech and marketing. What I can do, I can hover here on top, click here, and then I see that it's been allocated by default to 100% on my tech department. I can change that to 50%. As you notice, the cost has been automatically decreased. It has been divided by 2. Now, it's something that we will learn that is very important. When you click on coverage here, you see that my resource here are either white or yellow. They can also be green, depending on the level of coverage you have. When it's 100% coverage, it means the resource has been fully allocated, it will be green. When it hasn't been allocated yet, it's 0, it's white. And it is when it has been partially allocated, it's here 50%, it's yellow. So here, what happens if I want to allocate the 50 remaining percent to another department? I can open my resources here, take Redis again, bring it to marketing. By doing that, if we go there, by default, it's allocated directly on the remaining percentage compared to the one that is already attributed to tech. So it's 50%, 50%. If it was different, if I wanted to have 50%, 30%, I could also do that. And then I would still have 20% that are not allocated. And it means here I would have it displayed as yellow. But since here now I have 50% allocated to tech, 50% to marketing, it has been fully allocated, it's green, it's perfect. So as you can understand, it's quite simple to do that. It's very simple, you drag and drop your resources. Another element that is critical to understand when you are doing cost allocation is virtual tag. Basically, a virtual tag is a tag that will come on top of all your cloud providers and accounts. It's a tag that you are able to use independently from your engineering team if you want to directly identify some type of resources. For example, imagine that you are working with multiple customers from the automotive industry. One of these customers is Toyota. Toyota is using some resources in your cloud infra, which means that there are some costs that are then generated, and you want to allocate the cost of the resources used by Toyota to the division within your organization that is managing them. In this organization, that would, for example, be Division 1 in Asia. So here, by directly taking the virtual tag Toyota, I'm taking all the resources that they are using, and directly I'm able to bring them on their segment. And directly the costs now are allocated to this segment, to this division that is responsible for paying the cloud resources. The reason and the interest of the virtual tag here is that I can directly have all my resources used by this customer brought to the segment instead of going through my resource list here and doing that one by one and potentially missing some of them. So the virtual tags here are really important. You can see the video that is specifically about this topic to check how it can help you also all around the software to make views, make filters, etc. that will ease your life. So now that we are reaching the end of the video, let's have a look at all the final elements that can be interesting for you. So as you can see here, my costs, they are located at the grandchildren level where I put it. If you look above, everything is at 0. I have an option to reverberate my children cost. What is it? Basically, it's adding the grandchildren cost and putting them at the parent level. And then I do that again, and I put that at the parent level. And in the end, here, once you have a coverage of 100%, the CEO office, the one that is the highest level, should be equal to your total cost. So basically here, as you can see, you sum the two of them, you have the result. You sum that and that, you have the result, and you can track what has been allocated, and you can see the cost for each element and each segment in your org chart. Then let's have a look at another thing. Here, as you can see, you have multiple options. You can zoom in, zoom out. You can reset the zoom. You can export this as an image if you want. You are also able to show directly the segment allocation on the org chart. So if you remember correctly, each type of element here has a specific icon, and I'm able to show them directly on the org chart if I want to ease the readability. And also the final element here that I want to show you is about the compute order. So when we are doing the calculation, we chose a specific priority, a specific order when doing that. So here by default in Holori software, the order is going to individual resources. Then we have our provider tags, our virtual tags, and our services. So now I think you have most of the information regarding this allocation for the month of January. Let's have a look at how do we do that for the next month, for example. So make sure when you are moving around that you save before leaving the page and go back to cost allocation. Okay, here you see my cost allocation report for January, and I can create a new one. The new one I create is, well, for February, it's the following month, so I create it. Okay, and by default, as we mentioned previously, what we defined for the previous months will be considered as true and kept in memory for the next month, which means that in theory, if nothing changed in your organization, no new department, no new resource, no new allocation to do, you could just leave it as such and it would remain true, updating, of course, with the new cost for February for this new month. Of course, in the real world, the organization changes, the resources also change, etc. And you will be able to add new children, you will be able to remove divisions, you will be able to drag and drop new resources to your segments, etc., etc. Once you have done that, of course, the goal is still to target 100%. You can save it. And the next month, you will be able to do it again and again. So I hope it was clear. And don't hesitate to reach out if you have any question or need a specific onboarding. Thank you.